Welcome to Manifested Publishers.
Hello learners, I hope you are doing fine. Welcome to our today's social studies learning session. The topic is citizenship. We are studying drugs and substance abuse. In our today's lesson, we are going to learn the ways of curbing drug and substance abuse. Ways of curbing drug and substance abuse. Ways of curbing. To curb is to stop or to curtail. Ways of curbing drug and substance abuse. Learners, drugs and substance abuse can be controlled by taking certain measures. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to highlight some of the measures that can be taken in order to control drug and substance abuse. Drug and substance abuse. Drug and substance abuse. The first way is, number one way in which drug and substance abuse can be controlled is the public should be educated on the laws that govern drug and substance abuse. The public should be educated on the laws that govern drug and substance abuse. The public should be educated. People should be educated on the laws or the rules that govern drug and substance abuse. Number two, the second measure that can be taken in order to control drug and drug abuse is that the public should be educated on the dangers of drug and substance abuse. The public should be educated on the dangers of drug and substance abuse. The public should be educated on the dangers of drug and substance abuse, like the way we did in our last lesson, where we studied the effects of drug and substance abuse. The public should be educated on the dangers of drug and substance abuse, because this can be done, learners, this can be done within the family, it can be done in schools, it can be done during village barazas, it can also be done through the mass media, it can be done on social media, and so on. The public should be educated. There are some people who may not know the dangers of smoking cigarette. There are people who may not know the dangers of taking alcohol. Others may not know the effects, the negative effects of smoking marijuana. These are things we learned in our last lesson. If you know the effects, You saw how, for example, alcohol can lead to social decline, moral decline, how alcohol and miraa can lead to diseases, can lead to people being poor feeders, and ultimately causing people not to have good health. We learned many effects of this of drug abuse. So it's important that the people, the public, are educated on the dangers of drug and drug abuse. And I've said this can be done through at the family level, in schools, during village barazas, on social media, on mass media, and so on. All right? Is that clear, learners? Let's move on. Point number 3. How can drug and drug abuse be controlled? This can be controlled, number 3, through strict laws on drug and substance abuse. Strict laws on drug and substance abuse should be enforced. Strict laws on drug and substance abuse should be enforced. Should be enforced. Should be enforced. People, for example, who sell or use drugs should be prosecuted and punished accordingly. Because learners, that may deter others from engaging in the habit of selling and using drugs. So strict laws on drug and substance abuse should be enforced. I've given an example of the people who sell, the people who use drugs. When found with these drugs, when found guilty, then they have to be prosecuted, they have to be punished accordingly. That is one way of controlling drug and substance abuse, because that can be a preventive measure, a deterrent measure that may cause people not to engage in such behavior. Number 4, parents should be good or should be good role models to their children. Parents should be good role models to their children. Parents should be good role models to their children by not abusing drugs, by not abusing drugs. Parents should set a good example. Parents should not engage in irresponsible behavior like drunkenness, like smoking marijuana, and taking in abusing drugs and substances, because their children are likely to imitate them. If you are a parent, then you need to be a good role model to your children. Children will then strive to keep off drugs as a result of the example set by their parents. Parents should be good role models to their children, because children will now do what? Will imitate, will strive to keep off drugs. If you are parents, you have parents who keep off drugs, then you are likely not to abuse drugs. because your parent is leading by example. Some of you, when you grow up, you'll also be parents. When you are a parent, then you need to be a good role model to your children. By doing what? By not abusing drugs. When you abuse drugs and your children see you abusing drugs, then they will take your example. They will follow your example. And that is not good. A good parent is one who does not abuse drugs. And if he does not abuse drugs, then his or her children will keep off as a result of the example set by their parent. So this is a very strong point. I should have put it at number 1, but still is equally important. Parents, all right? Because these parents, these are the first people that the children come, others, the children come into contact with. So very important point. So now that's number 5. Moving on to point number 5. Do I need to write here? No, I can write there. I don't need to bend my back. I don't need to bend my back. I can come here and write number 5. Another point is that is in relation to moral guidance. Moral guidance should be provided to the youth. Moral guidance should be provided to the youth. Moral guidance should be provided to the youth, maybe through church, through other religious organizations. Okay, moral guidance, because we have religious teachings that discourage drug and substance abuse, like Christianity, like Islam, like Hinduism. We get moral guidance from such religious teachings. So where the youth are guided morally through religious teachings, that can be a good way of curbing drug and substance abuse. Most religious teachings discourage drug and substance abuse. Then number 6 is that another way is through ensuring that warnings on the effects of the use of certain drugs and substances to people are clearly visible. Warnings. I'm talking about warnings. We should ensure that warnings on the effects of the use of certain drugs, warnings, ensuring effects of use of certain drugs, ensuring that effects of use of certain drugs and substances to people, warnings to people, are done what? Are clearly visible. to people are clearly visible, ensuring effects of use of certain drugs and substances to people are clearly visible. If you are selling drugs like medicinal drugs, if there are warnings to people, then those warnings should be clearly visible. And this can be written by manufacturers, for example, on the packets, on the bottles, on labels, or containers of the drugs and substances. If, for example, medicinal drugs are packed in packets or in bottles, then the warnings, okay, we say that ensuring effects of the use of certain drugs and substances are clearly visible. So the effects, the warnings should be written by the manufacturers of such drugs so that they are clearly visible to the users of the drugs. Then number 7 is strengthening police inspection at border crossing points, such as the ports, such as the seaports, the lake ports, the airports, and so on. Strengthening police inspection on border crossing points. Ensuring and strengthening police inspection on border crossing points like the seaports, the airports, the lake ports, and so on, because this inspection will help to prevent smuggling of drugs into the country. The police should ensure that those coming into the country, they are inspected so that smuggling of drugs into the country is restricted. Then number 8, the second way in which we can curb drug and substance abuse is by promoting healthy leisure activities. Promoting healthy leisure activities such as games, sports, retreats, games, sports, retreats, promoting healthy leisure activities such as games, sports, retreats, picnics, social work, picnics, social work, etc. Because remember, learners, we saw that those who take illegal drugs, non-medicinal drugs, sometimes they take these drugs to seek pleasure, okay, false pleasure. So one way in which we can avoid seeking false leisure is by having healthy leisure through activities like games, activities like sports, activities like retreats, picnics, social work, and so on. When this is done, then people will not think of engaging in activities that may bring false pleasure or leisure. Promoting healthy leisure activities, games, sports, retreats, picnics, social work, and so on. So learners as a youth, make sure you engage, find a way of engaging in sports, engaging in games. If you don't like games, try and develop some interest in games. It can be outdoor games or indoor games like playing Scrabble, playing chess, playing netball, playing football, playing basketball, playing volleyball, all right, volleyball, and so on. Make sure you engage in games, social work. When there is cleanup in the estate, take part in the process of doing social work, because that brings healthy leisure. It's pleasurable to do social work, right? Make sure you go for retreats. When the retreats are organized, maybe by your church, by your family or school, engage in retreats, go for picnics, go and climb mountains, okay, swimming, go and swim. That will help you to have healthy leisure. And by so doing, you will curb drug and substance abuse. Instead of seeking for pleasure or leisure in drugs, please engage in these activities that I've mentioned here, and you'll have true leisure, true pleasure. Then number 9, another way in which drug and substance abuse can be curbed is by ensuring that medical drugs are not sold without a doctor's prescription. Ensuring that medical drugs are not sold without a doctor's prescription. You recall, we defined a drug. We said a drug can either medicinal or non-medicinal. Medicinal or non-medicinal. We said medicinal drugs can also be abused. So one way to avoid abusing medicinal drugs is ensuring that all medicinal drugs are not sold without a doctor's prescription. For example, when you go to buy medicine in a chemist or in a pharmacy, there are some drugs where you may require to have a doctor's prescription. There should be medicine should not just be sold anyhow over the counter. No, there has to be a doctor's prescription. Otherwise, people will abuse drugs, whether knowingly or unknowingly, because it's not easy to understand how drugs are taken without the assistance or the instructions of the doctor. Then number 10, 9 plus 1 is equal to 10. 9 plus 1 is equal to 10. We are on the 10th way of curbing drug and substance abuse. The last point here is by establishing and maintaining rehabilitation centers. Establishing and maintaining rehabilitation centers. Rehabilitation centers. By establishing and maintaining rehabilitation centers where drug addicts can be taken to recover, where drug addicts can be taken to recover. Establishing and maintaining rehabilitation centers where drug addicts can be taken to recover. There should be rehabilitation centers across the country, because drugs are abused across the country. So this will help to curb drug and substance abuse. So on that note, learners, we come to the end of our today's lesson, where we studied ways of controlling drug and substance abuse. I want you to go through this lesson one more time. Take it at your own pace. Write down the notes, read the notes, internalize the notes, then attempt this revision question. State 10 ways in which drug and substance abuse can be controlled. When answering this question, close your exercise book. See if you can recall what we have learned in our today's lesson from your memory. Thank you. I hope to meet you in our next lesson. God bless you and bye-bye.